Hi, you're watching Theophany, bringing God to light at the intersection of film and theology. This is a brand new channel, so today is going to be part introduction and part exercise. The goal is to perhaps convince you that we can bring God to light by engaging the world of film, by talking about why, and then practicing how. In 1942, Disney released an animated feature that forever changed the way we thought about film and culture: Bambi. After Bambi was released, something unexpected happened. Deer hunting in the US saw an astronomical, unprecedented drop for about the next decade. After seeing Bambi, Americans largely didn't want to hunt anymore. It changed something about the way they saw the world. Whether we want to admit it or not, movies profoundly affect us as a society. And that was back in 1942. Today, the biggest films are seen globally by billions of people. And where culture is being shaped, God is at work. One of my favorite weird stories in Scripture is the story of the Magi, who saw a star in the east and decided to follow it, and it led them to the Christ child. Something we may often miss in this story is that God is working outside of the faith tradition to draw people to Christ. The Magi were not Jewish, but likely practiced cultic religion based on nature, like the stars. And yet God acted in a way that they were able to recognize. They caught a glimpse of something that they didn't quite know what to do with, and it led them on a journey where they met with Jewish leaders who listened to what they had experienced and then took it to their scriptures, which led them all to Christ. This simple recognition that God might be at work in a new, unexpected way changed the story of faith forever. This is exactly what we ought to do with what we watch, because our greatest movies, whether they be sprawling epics, quiet character studies, riotous comedies, or superhero tones, often make claims about humanity, about purpose, and about what to believe in. And if God is concerned with the reconciliation of the world, then movies are inherently theological. Which brings us to the word theophany, the name of this channel. Theophany is a fancy theological term for God showing up. It's a combination of two words, theos meaning God, and phine meaning appearing. Phine is actually the word used for the star in the story of the Magi, and the same word for any time an angel appears in the Christmas story. But phine has a smaller root. It's connected to the word phos, which means light. A theophany, therefore, is when God brings light, or light is brought in a way that reveals God. Movies can be theophanies, moments where we sit in a room lit by a projector or a TV screen, where suddenly God can be seen. Sometimes it takes us by surprise, but other times we may have to look for it. But enough talk. Let's try this out. We're going to look at a short film by the masters of the animated short, Pixar Studios. Before the 2016 movie Finding Dory, there was a beautiful Academy Award-winning short film called Piper. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to watch it before continuing on. You can find it on Disney Plus or in the link above. We're going to practice looking for God in this amazing little film by asking a few easy questions about it. Now, these aren't the only questions you can ask to find God in film. They're just a way to get you started. The first question that might lead you to God is the most basic. What stood out? What was unforgettable? When I watch Piper, I'm the most astounded by the beauty of its animated world. There's a beautiful realism to it, like nothing I'd ever seen before in animation. Right away, we can marvel at two things: the beauty of God's creation, and also the amazing gift that God gives us to innovate, to animate, and to bring interesting and special life to that created world. It reminds me of the stories of creation in Genesis, where humanity is brought into creation to both enjoy it, but also to care for it and work it and add to it. Already, just by looking at it, we're able to reflect on God. The next question is this: what is it about? Piper is about a little bird, a sandpiper, who goes on a journey from dependence to independence, and from fear to curiosity, and then confidence. The little bird is encouraged by its mother to try providing for itself, only to suffer a scary experience. But by the end of the story, the bird is completely confident in providing not only for itself, but for its mother and its community. In this way, the story is about overcoming fear. Again, this idea draws me back to Scripture and what it teaches about fear. In the Old Testament, a proverb says that fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. But the New Testament in 1 John says perfect love casts out all fear. So which one is it? Piper helps us understand that fear can be both healthy and debilitating. After all, fear is the beginning of wisdom, but perhaps not its end. Eventually, like the sandpiper, we have to grow out of that fear and into something else. 1 John says that thing is love. When we are young in faith, fear can be a way we protect ourselves from things we are not yet ready for, like touching a stove or going into deep water. But as we mature, we can no longer live in fear of the stove, or the ocean, or God, and expect to live a healthy life with love. There again, one of the quickest ways to find God in movies is to try to understand what it's about, and see if it matches up with what God is about. One more way that you can look for God in a film is to ask, who are the characters? Now, this can be tricky. A temptation that many have when looking for God in a film is to try to pick one single Christ figure. Instead, I suggest we look at characters on their own terms and see what emerges. A really important character in Piper is the little hermit crab. The sandpiper's curiosity and fear for that little crab leads to a discovery. The crabs have their own special way of dealing with the ocean. The little crab actually goes out of its way to share this with the sandpiper. This character is key to the sandpiper not only overcoming its fear of the ocean, but to learning and understanding its world in a brand new way. The Bible is full of stories like this, cover to cover. Main characters like David, Mary, or Paul begin as unassuming or antithetical heroes who are led by God into amazing things. Or, like the little hermit crab, stories are interrupted by unexpected characters who completely change the story, like Balaam's donkey, the woman at the well, the Roman centurion, or the Ethiopian eunuch. God beckons us to look for new learning, new teaching, and understanding in unexpected or even scary places and people. Sadly, a lot of modern Christianity perpetuates the idea that we need to be afraid of things that don't immediately identify themselves as Christian. And that's a shame, because as we've just seen, even a cute 6-minute cartoon about a bird and a crab can open us up to unique and thoughtful ways of seeing God. This is especially amazing because the word theology means words about God, and just now we said so much about God based on a little film that has actually 0 words in it, because that's just how big and amazing God is. We therefore have a unique calling, or perhaps a command, to ask thoughtful questions about what we watch, and engage joyfully with the world of culture and film to see where God might show up. And we can rest easy knowing that God will meet us there.